This is AV SuperFriends Perspectives, a collection of interviews, discussions, and presentations from conferences, trade shows, and events that just don't fit either of the other two shows. Some are long, some are short, but they'll all have valuable insights, useful information, or just good conversation with thought leaders and subject matter experts. And now, the AV SuperFriends. All right, so we're still here at Northwest Met. We are live at Northwest Met with a pre-recorded interview. Not kidding. So Marc and I are here with Kristen Garner from Kramer. I guess more appropriately, Kramer Electronics. I've just seen branding of just straight Kramer now. So.
Yeah, I think that's the name we're known for. Properly, it would be Kramer Electronics, but Kramer is good.
And so we've just been kind of chatting through a few things. What are you seeing in the higher ed vertical in particular? What are you seeing people really gravitate towards? Where are people's pain points? Where are the needs, and what are the solutions that you're seeing really become popular these days?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. The one thing that I want to emphasize is Kramer really has a new idea about reaching out to the vertical. They've developed a new role so that we can approach the end users directly in a manner that we haven't previously. So we have new leadership. They're really innovative. They're really looking for the things that will complement, especially the higher ed space, bringing in that vertical representation, but also delivering some of those solutions that are going to work well in that space. We have the VIA family, which is rock solid, well known, and has been deployed in many, many institutions and used heavily. We have a really good reputation with that product family, and we can continue to develop and support it.
So within that vertical, you mentioned the focus on the higher ed vertical. Is there like a team or specialists, or how are you addressing that? Because higher ed is kind of a weird vertical anyway. We'll share all our secrets with everybody. We don't care.
Right.
We're open, and we're also very honest about feedback and things like that. So are you building out dedicated teams, or having people assigned to that, or what's that look like?
We are. So they brought me on recently. I'm the Director of Business Development for the education vertical in North America. We are restructuring and focusing on that, and we're building out a team so that we can reach the territories more effectively. Takes a while to turn that big ship, so we're working on that now. But stay tuned, because we have a lot up our sleeve that we're really excited to bring forward to higher ed and K-12 as well. One of the really nice things is, if you guys don't know, but I'm sure you already do, our tech support's 3 years in a row consecutive, award-winning, voted in by our colleagues. And that's a really special thing that we hold near and dear to our heart. We're very, very prideful of that. Our team is fantastic. It's just another level of support in the higher ed realm that we can point to directly and give you some comfort with.
Well, one thing I'll say about higher ed is we're not shy about picking up the phone and calling support and demanding help for something that we should have been able to fix ourselves. So
right.
I hope you're ready for that, because
I'm ready. I'm out here.
I've worked with people where their method for troubleshooting is I rebooted it, and then I called the manufacturer. I'm like, well, you skipped about 9 steps in there that you should have done, but it happens.
And we all know what the first question is when you call.
Has it been turned off and back on again?
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2.
Have you called the manufacturer? So that's where we end up.
What version of firmware are you on?
Have you updated the firmware?
Have you updated the firmware?
My answer to that is always going to be no, because it was working fine yesterday. So,
right, right. What updates did you secretly push out?
That's right.
No. So I am really proud of our peripherals and what we have to offer higher ed. And my goal, having been in Pro AV for education vertical for the years that I have been, is really to get intimate again and be able to deliver Kramer products to those customers who do know me. Some folks have some awareness, so that's been a pleasure for me to get back in and really talk about that. So I'm glad to be here and celebrate all those things with us. And I think you have another question for me.
I do. So a few minutes ago, because we started talking about this yesterday, and I've been trying to get you to speak more on it. You said, okay, well, we can talk about UC Workspace.
Put me on the spot. There he goes.
The new software. It's something that we've talked about on the AV SuperFriends before. Marc and I have both used it. We like it from the standpoint of giving that kind of cohesive
pre-Kramer
interface.
This was like
yes,
years
this is pre-Kramer. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what we talked about on AV SuperFriends maybe 2 months ago or so.
Somewhere around there.
It was right after the acquisition when Kramer purchased UC Workspace. And that was our news segment.
Yeah.
Because we had used that. And
the good news segment.
It is very much a good news segment. So the logical thought is this is probably going to be tied somehow to a a single user interface for the VIA line or something related to that. Now, granted, I understand that's probably a new process, but is there any hints you can give us? Anything we're seeing on how UC Workspace and VIA and Kramer are going to fix all my hybrid problems?
I don't think we didn't have any Kramer perspective on that news story. It was just like this was announced, and we just kind of
guessed,
prognosticated about what we thought it may be. And this is our first time to officially have somebody from Kramer just say, "This is what it does for us."
That's fair. No, that's great. And honestly, we're really excited. Again, some of that new energy, some of that new way of thinking at Kramer that we can deliver, and the acquisition of UC Workspace has been really great for us. Initially, I looked at it and I thought, what am I going to do with this in higher ed? And most classrooms are standardized on a solution, and their faculty is using that. And then I thought, what about those specialty spaces or those revenue generating spaces, things that are community facing and touch folks who aren't necessarily faculty members? And UC Workspace is the simplified, secure way to utilize any platform, take the mystery out of all the hardware, provide a really common user interface so that you can walk into any space. It's really one touch join, and it's secure. It will, after the meeting's over, you leave the meeting, guess what? You walk out, it's wiped. Any residue is gone, so you can safely feel comfortable that you're not leaving any of your information left on that platform. Super secure, very easy. It's a customizable interface. You can create tiles, you can put your logos, all this beautiful stuff that in higher ed we like to brag about who we are. So we want to walk in and have that splash screen, but we also want it simple. We want to be able to have a user come in, hit a button, start the meeting, and go to town. And it does not matter what platform. And I invite you to look at the UC Workspace webpage. Very easy on the eyes to see. But you'll notice the sheer amount of not only partnerships they have, but the platforms that they support. So we are excited about that within Kramer, because as you said, how we are going to integrate that with our current hardware and software platform offerings, I think it's going to be fantastic. So
and I'll tell you what I like about UC Workspace and that concept is the challenge we have at universities is someone will say, I want a Zoom room. And by which they mean they don't want a Zoom room
that can do Zoom.
They want a room with Zoom.
Right.
Because the very first meeting in there is going to be a Teams meeting.
Absolutely.
Or a Google Hangout meeting, or a WebEx meeting, or a GoToMeeting.
Zoom means WebEx.
Even Blue Jeans is out there, right?
Blue Jeans. Zoom has become the kind of the Kleenex of
That's right.
collaboration. I'm going to have a Zoom call, but let me connect to Google. It's like, well, I get where they're coming from. It's a branding issue. But what that means is when a department says we want a Zoom room, they want a general space, but they want that ideally as much as possible standardized user interface, because from meeting to meeting they don't care what's happening in there. They want to hit those two buttons, the whole thing fires up and it works. So I'm very excited about that.
What if they could do it in one?
Well, hey, I'll take that extra one. We'll still make them do the
challenge
second.
accepted.
So,
Challenge accepted.
You got to press the same one twice.
Yeah, push it too. Yeah, I want to double
make
press.
sure it works. That's right. That's right.
So I'm very excited about that. I like that capability, which is why Marc and I played with UC Workspace and some small pilot projects 6 years ago.
I'll tell you, I was so excited when you told me that. I don't know if you could tell or not, but I kind of did a backflip in my mind, The old bones don't work like they used to, so it was not a physical presentation, but I was super excited to hear that, and I can't wait to talk to you a little further about that, and then ultimately share a longer than a little 10-minute spot. We'll come back in and we'll talk more about what to expect with UC Workspace in the higher ed vertical and how we can apply that to our campuses and make it really easy for our folks.
I'd love to see what it looks like now, because it's been some time, and see what happens when Kramer gets their hands on it and it kind of does their thing, and what does it really do? Because it was early.
Right.
It was very early when we looked at it. So, but
it's
we
pretty
saw
sophisticated
the potential.
now. Yeah.
It had potential, but it was rough.
Yeah. No, and it's great to hear, and I'm excited to share it with you, because I think you'll be really happy with how it's matured. To complement that, just to let you know, Kramer has also released a line of UC peripherals, and so we have our PTC cameras, we have our K-Bar, which is the all-in-one camera mic, speaker, the K-Speak speakerphone, and our K180 Mini, which is a really nice camera with auto framing, face detection, all the good stuff that you can do, display mode, multi-display modes. So something really nice to complement all the full solution that Kramer can bring you now. we used to be a little bit segregated when folks would think about us, and now, we really want to let folks know that we can provide really from cable and connection all the way through your wireless and your AV over IP. We just released our new model development for the KDS 7 series, and we already have a couple projects in the hopper for some higher ed facilities, so really excited about that. The KDS 7 series does actually have a management piece as well, so once you get those bigger deployments, you want to have that tool, that dashboard that makes it easier to manage and monitor that solution. And again, don't forget us for cables too. We have some really, really unique cables and connectors. So reach out to your rep. Cool. I don't want to be too salesy, but I'm really excited about what Kramer has to offer to higher ed. So
very cool. Yeah, I think as we see the market, let me rephrase. That sounded too salesy. As we see higher ed,
sell it to me, Chris. Really, sell
it to me, Chris.
As we see higher ed kind of really need more of what was traditionally almost a corporate or a specialized collaboration system, but almost in every space. I think the general consensus, and there's certainly some outliers, general consensus is we'll just have to enable that capability in every teaching space because we don't know what's coming. And I don't want to be the person to tell someone they can't do that in a certain room because they're in the wrong space or whatever.
What's interesting, just to stop you right there for a minute, we started out this discussion, and one of the things you asked was what trends and what pain points have I witnessed, and what am I seeing? And that you just kind of brought us right back around. It's perfect. It's almost like you've done this before.
Once.
My first day here.
Yeah. Boy, you're knocking it out of the park, pal. It's my first day here. But it's some of the pain points are that delivery of that solution that can transverse, that can offer the flexibility to have that user interface, to have that maintenance ability. You don't want your tech to have to know too many devices. It makes it an inefficient workspace. So if we can consolidate and make a really efficient system that can kind of overlap into different solution options, make it more flexible, I think that's going to hit the mark in a lot of spaces. And again, even some of those revenue generating spaces, I mean, that's a marketing point, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, I have a common space, I can rent it out, I can get some money because I have the AV that's available. So, yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Marc, any last thoughts?
No, I think we got it. We're going to hit you up on some more of that UC Workspace in the future.
Please
for sure.
Do.
And then, but if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way, kgarner@kramerav.com, KGARNER. You can always call me. 254-266-0610 is my cell. That's the easiest way to contact me. And email works really well, too. I carry one of those handy devices in my pocket all the time.
Get the email in the pocket.
And that's right. That's right. And Teams, hey, we do everything on Teams. But we are platform agnostic, as you should guess.
As you should be. That's one of our challenges.
Yeah, but we have UC Workspace. Yeah, I mean, we have to be, right?
People want to call. They don't care what platform it's on. I mean, right. I was blown away when I heard there's a major university, I won't say who, but UNLV, who's using WebEx as their primary teaching platform.
But who made that decision?
I suspect that's a legacy from a previous contract.
But we'll blame Frank.
Yeah. We'll blame Frank directly.
Yeah. I won't tell him.
But we'll tell him.
So. But yeah, it's one of those things. People don't care. They just want to be able to communicate, teach, learn, all that stuff, and so if we can find something that makes that easier, all the better. So.
Yeah. Well, don't forget Kramer. I don't want folks to count us out. We've in the past been secondary choice, and I'm hopeful that folks look and say, hey, let's invite them to the table first round. So that's the goal. Thanks, guys, for having me on here. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by.
I can't wait to talk deeper about UC Workspace.
Yeah. All right. See where that's going.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, that wraps up another episode of AV SuperFriends Perspectives. If you have a perspective to share, you can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV SuperFriends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.